How's it going, people, and welcome back to the Supporters Club, my brand new show here at AFTV. And we're about to discuss Ivan Gazidis. Obviously, he's left the club now, our former chief executive. What has his legacy done for us? I'm here with Graham, Robbie and Lee. Start with Robbie. You've met the man a couple of times. How do you look back at this Gazidis era? Good answer. That's a good answer.
In your own time.
Do you know what? It's mixed, isn't it? It's like he was a very good businessman. He oversaw us in quite a difficult time, moving into a new stadium. So that would have been a tough thing to oversee. We've seen the problems that Tottenham have got at the moment, just to even get into their stadium. So he's had to oversee all of that, and players, us losing players and stuff like that. So I think, he was a good businessman. He got us in good deals and oversaw that. But what I would say, though, on the transfer front, which is the thing that really interests us as fans.
Yeah, of course.
I have to say he's been terrible. That's my opinion. I mean, when I think of the players that we lost, Fabregas, Adebayor, Van Persie, Alexis Sanchez.
Nasri, yeah.
Even right now, to the Aaron Ramsey situation, where we've allowed Aaron Ramsey's contract to run down to the last year, and he's possibly going to walk away for free. We could have sold him I remember last summer. They were not last summer, the summer before. They were talking about Barcelona being interested in
50
Aaron Ramsey for £50 million. And I remember a lot of fans at the time were jokingly saying, "Yeah, sell him."
Yeah.
Right? We've held on to him all of that time. I know there's been injuries and that involved in between. And now this guy's going to potentially walk away at the end of the season, 27 years of age, for zero. That is terrible business. Jack Wilshere, free transfer, England player, well-known England player. We know about the injuries, but well-known England international for nothing. We got next to nothing, really, for Van Persie, when you consider the type of player he is. When you consider what other clubs would have done, they would have, you see every other club, they put a contract offer on the table for these players. I see the other day with Tottenham and Dele Alli, they've signed a new contract with him till 2024. Yeah. Now, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to keep him until 2024, but they're securing the asset. They're making sure that if he does go, they're going to get top dollar for him. Why did we used to let this happen? And I thought it was quite significant the other day that the new guys have taken over from recruitment at Arsenal was saying that this will never ever happen again, that you will never see Arsenal players being run down into the end of their contract. And we did it time and time again. And it's a combination, I think, of Ivan Gazidis and Arsene Wenger, where when it came to transfers, they got it completely wrong. And then you've got to then look at also players we bought. Yes, there were some success stories in like Alexis Sanchez and people like that. But then there's been a lot of poor signings as well over the years. So I think when it comes to transfers and that, I think he was pretty poor. As an administrator, as a business person, you've got to say not bad. I mean, he, as I said, a rocky period to take over and run the club. He did have come with despite a lot of people saying that he knew nothing about football. I remember one time when I spoke to him over in LA, I think that's one thing that annoyed him. That people would be saying that he's not a football guy, he don't know nothing. He goes to me, he said to me, he goes, "Robbie, that really gets my nerves when people say that I'm not a football person." He goes, "I was one of the guys instrumental in putting together and building the MLS."
Yeah. And
he goes, "A lot of people don't know that." And he goes, "I was there, and I was running it for a long time." So he goes, "I know about football, even though that's not Premier League football." So, but very mixed. Will he be missed? I don't know.
Like you said, first and foremost, he took over at a very difficult time at Arsenal. I think 2008 he took over near the end of the season. We had just finished fourth, a few years off our Invincibles year, and the stadium move was in full effect. It was saving on money, selling our biggest names, and like you said, the transfers and the wages and the contract issues seem to be, are my biggest issue with his period at the club. Because we go back to that summer we sold Fabregas and Nasri, I think it was the same summer. We replaced them with Benayoun and Arteta. That was actually what we'd done. And that was after the 8-2 against Man United. So he didn't really bring when people say he wasn't a footballing man, I think it comes from what he'd done footballing wise and transfer wise. Because like you said, us fans, that's what we look at for our chief executive or chairman or board members to supply the funds and supply the players to our manager. So he's took on a massive job, but business wise, Graham, would you deem it, would he look back at his time at Arsenal and say he was successful because of how he transitioned the club from the stadium to closing down debts and leaving us in a position where over the last few years, forget last summer, we have signed big name players. So would you think he believes it's a success his time?
Me personally, no. I don't know the man personally. Robbie's met him. He always comes across.
I don't know him personally either. But I met him a couple of,
before that comes out and they say Robbie's rolling.
He comes across to me as Turkish, very arrogant. Obviously, from the outside looking in, very arrogant and smug. And the problem I had, or the problem he had, is he followed David Dein. David Dein did wonders for the club.
Yeah, good point.
I think he wasn't helped by the fact that Arsene Wenger had grown so powerful, but he didn't choose to do anything about it quick enough. And as a result of that, he did have come in at a very difficult time in our history when we had moved to the new stadium. But ultimately, his legacy is, as Rob said, we as fans judge him by contract. He's a businessman who's, contracts for the players.
Yeah.
As a businessman, he's negotiated a very good contract for himself, and he's walking out now not seeing the project through, which obviously you can.
It doesn't bode well.
Doesn't bode well, does it? If he's not prepared to see the project through. He did make major changes. He did bring in Mislitat into recruitment, and he's brought the backroom team into place. And I think gradually he started to sort of like erode Wenger's power to the point where he positioned the club to move on from Wenger. So I'll give him credit for that. Did he do it quick enough? Probably he didn't. No. And ultimately, because he hasn't done it quick enough, we find ourselves in the Europa League.
Yeah.
And I think that his legacy will be that he came into the club at the time when the fans were promised we were moving into a new stadium and we were going to be challenging Bayern Munich and Barcelona for the top prize. And that's why people pay top dollar at the Emirates, because they want to see us competing against the best. And we haven't done that. So ultimately, you could say he's failed. He failed to deliver what the club had moved into the new stadium for. Because
he made that statement about Bayern Munich and competing.
Yeah, that he said that we were going to compete at the next level we never have. So judged by that, he's failed, hasn't he? But he is a businessman at the end of the day, and he's got a very good deal for himself. I don't think he was loved by a lot of fans of the club. That's clear. And I think he held on to Arsene Wenger for too long. Yep. But the only thing he did do is position the club for the post-Wenger era. So give him credit for that. But obviously, at the end of the day, he hasn't seen the project through. And you do tend to wonder, if you put those changes in place, surely you want your legacy to see it through to the end. And he hasn't done that. So ultimately, at the end of the day, for me, looking in as a fan, you know, for me, I'm not a massive fan of his. I love David Dein.
Too nice, Graham. Too nice.
I'm trying to be nice, you know.
I'm saving Lee for last.
He's just sitting there like this.
I'm trying to be diplomatic here. You know, and I did say on your channel, didn't I? When he leaves the Emirates, out the door, wax him on the way out. You know, so but you know, I try not to sort of like be too sort of like disrespectful to the man, because at the end of the day, you know, he was head of the club. So, but you know, I look at what David Dein did for the club, the way he got transfers over the line, the way the things he did to position us for the moving forward. And I look at the comparison between the two, and obviously compared against Dein, that's why I look upon him less favourably. Very disappointed he's walked away without seeing the job through. So, but his legacy will be that we went to the new stadium and we didn't compete for the top prizes, and also that the thing that sums him up perfectly really is the Suarez deal. Oh, that 40 million and £1. That was, to me,
that's a joke for a club like us. For any club to offer £1 over a release clause, even if it could be any club. It's a bit of a joke for Arsenal Football Club to do that. It's even a slap in the face of us fans when that happens, you know what I mean? We need the player, we want the player, go out and get him. But you made a good point about David Dein, that added to the pressure of taking on the role. And you also made a point about the last year or two, when he made that comment about catalyst for change, and I think Arsenal Fan TV saw him in the summer and he said, we're going to do some business and whatnot. He brought Raul in and Sven, and he did change things over the last year and a half, but like you said, he's now jumped ship. And at a time when things were kind of going the way it seemed he wanted it to go, What worries me about that is if he's jumping ship now, has Kroenke informed him that no, the funds will not be coming in and you won't be able to take off your project into a way you want to, and AC Milan have offered him that? Or is it that he's just had enough of the criticism of the English media or the English fans? And Lee, I haven't heard from you yet. What do you think about Gazidis?
Well, first and foremost, he gives Boardmen a bad name. So for that reason, I don't like it. You know, I've got Andre Agassi that done great things, and Bruce Willis, and then we've got Gazidis. He ruined it. But on a serious note, I look back as an Arsenal fan. Ken Fry, you know what I mean, was at Arsenal for years, and you know brought good things to Arsenal through bad times and all that, but certain class about him that gives everybody fondness. You know what I mean? David Dein done some great things as well, and then we go on to Mr. Gazidis. And as far as I'm concerned, for me, nothing. It's absolutely nothing. He's lied to us, you know what I mean, if I be honest. Yep. He's told me, as a fan, to pump in money every week. So he's saying to you, look, you pay the top price season ticket, we're going to sell a player every season, but eventually we're going to compete with Bayern Munich. You know what I mean? Like, we are now competing with, I don't know, some of the names I can't even know, I can't even pronounce. You know, that's the legacy he's left us with. It's true or not true?
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
There you go, look, I can't even say it, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's just absolute nonsense of it all, like, you know what I mean? And everything about him has just been a big disappointment. So be it that, as we've just said, he didn't even see the project through. You know, one of my real grudges against him is that he allowed Arsene Wenger to become what he became.
Yeah.
This great manager, you know, someone that I loved, and in the first 10 years, I go back to when, you know, this is so true. My house, when Arsene Wenger used to come on, and my dad was around my house, me and my dad used to stand up and watch the telly because Arsene Wenger was on, like, you know what I mean? And we'd keep everybody quiet and all that, like. So eventually, when Arsene Wenger came, we was turning the telly off.
Yeah.
You know, and he allowed that to happen. And the reason he allowed it to happen, because he didn't care.
Do you put it solely on his shoulders, or
Yeah,
Kroenke?
solely on his shoulders, because I'll tell you why. When Arsene Wenger bought Petr Cech and he turned round and said to him, that's all I'm prepared to spend, for me, Gazidis should have said, Arsene, no, enough's enough. You've got that is not going to be good enough for us to challenge for this title when you've got, what happens if Coquelin gets injured and Arteta? That was our main midfield. And he should have turned round to Arsene Wenger and said, either we spend some money here and you sort yourself out, otherwise you've got to go.
Yeah.
But he allowed Arsene Wenger to keep on this crusade of self-indulgence, if you like, you know what I mean? And for me, someone should have said no. You know, did he allow Arsene Wenger to become too powerful? I don't think he had a choice, really, if I'll be honest with that. And it was just things like that. And I will say this now, you know what I mean? If you'd have said, maybe a year ago, walk round the Emirates at 2:30.
Yeah.
He'd have got to, like, you know, block D before he'd been dead, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because seriously, he would have been attacked and straight up. No one at the football club likes him.
Yeah.
No one, you know what I mean? So that tells you everything, doesn't it? You look back at
Block D.
He'd have got to block D. Right? He wouldn't have got to E, I'll tell you that, like, I mean, like, you know.
What did you say? Block D or something?
Block B, you know what I mean? Like, it took me a block to chase him down, like, you know what I mean? But seriously, he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there'd been a queue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, there'd been who done it.
You're right. No, you're right.
But that is how it is, and you look back on a serious point. You look back at David Dein. David Dein made mistakes. He made mistakes. There's no two ways about it. But there's a fondness. If David Dein walked in there, you'd want to shake his hand.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Ken Fry, a lovely man. You know what I mean? Like, done great things for Arsenal. The Hill Woods done great things for Arsenal. Made mistakes, but they done the right thing. What they fought for the football club. I honestly feel that with Gazidis, he done the right thing for himself, which has been evident as why he's gone to AC Milan now.
Which is the money, I guess.
And the thing is, there's a Fryer Bridge, isn't there, at the Emirates?
Yeah.
There's never going to be a Gazidis Bridge, is
No,
it?
never.
Well, it'd probably sink.
But the point being, Turkish, and Lee touched on it there, we had a great chance in that season when Lee was talking about. We just signed Petr Cech that year, the year Leicester won the league. We had a fantastic chance that year of winning the league. If Wenger had bought the right signings that year, we probably would have won the league. And he didn't strengthen the outfield positions, did he?
Nope.
He just bought a goalkeeper. And the one thing about David Dein was David Dein got the transfers over the line for Wenger. Wenger then took over the transfers, but Wenger's was very sort of comfortable with what he had around him.
Yeah.
David Dein, if David Dein had been our chairman, he would have said, Arsene, come on, we need that
challenge
player.
him.
Challenge him, yeah.
Yeah, challenge, that's exactly right.
What you got with Gazidis. And so whether he was a football man or not, or a businessman or not, but he wasn't the right fit for Arsenal.
He's a politician.
Yeah.
I remember when I met him that time, and he's quite a charming guy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, even though what you say, Lee, like people disliked him and that, but I have to say, in speaking to him, he was a really, really nice guy. Like, he's very charming. He listens, right? So he actually came over to me and he was like, you know, he said, I like your channel because you give fans a chance to have their stay and stuff like that. And then we were talking and I was like, this is a chance of it, because it was when we was playing the friendlies over in LA, and I was like, this is a chance of a lifetime. I've got so many questions I want to put to this guy, right? And I started firing questions at him, and I wasn't like just on a groveling tip. I was asking him some proper questions. Why is the atmosphere at the stadium so bad? Ticket prices, transfers. I was asking him all these questions, right? And he was answering everything, right? Answer. We were there for about over an hour. And I remember I left from there and I went home. I went back to the hotel and I was like, yeah. And something just said to me, I said, hold on a minute. I've just spent an hour with this guy. I've asked him a load of questions. He hasn't answered anything.
Media trained, isn't it?
Right? He's not answered one question. He's a proper politician. He had an answer for things, but not one of those things.
You have no clarity on the...
Yeah, he's just like when you're watching those MPs on TV where they're firing loads of questions at them.
Yeah.
And they answer them, but they don't answer anything.
Yeah.
They just come back with another question, or they, you know, and he was very skilled at doing that. So he's a very skilled negotiator and things like that in the business world. But I have to agree with both these guys that, you know, when it came to, like, you know, the football side of it, it was a shambles. And then I look at it and it's a bit like what you guys are saying. Why is he left now?
Yep.
There's a theory that it is for the money, that going to AC Milan, they've got American owners.
Yeah.
And maybe they've said to him, you know what, if you come in, we're going to give you a little percentage as well.
True.
That if, you know, we'll pay you X amount and we'll give you a little percentage. And that the plan with those owners is just to get AC Milan back onto that, where they were, you know, that even kill, and then sell it on, and then he'll get a percentage of the shares. There's a lot of talk going around that that's the reason. But it's just weird that he said catalyst for change. We've made all these changes, which is one of the good legacies of it, and he's chosen a good manager, and he's gone.
And that's why I'm scared. Has someone...
gone. And like you said, or is it that he's saying to himself, you know what, these cronkies, they're never ever going to give the right amount of money. Because look at last summer. Right, for me, new manager coming in, you're giving him like
Support.
50, 60 million pounds to spend on Fulham and all these Wolves and all these clubs
Doubling it.
are spending way more money. I think, you know, and also we've become, over the years, he's done a good job on us still, right? Because over the years, he's managed to convince us that we, you know, it's all right that we don't spend no money. It's all right that Arsenal, you know, he's like, I remember one time when Neymar was, you know, there was talk about Neymar going to PSG.
Yeah.
And I remember I was with a couple of my mates and I said to them, I said, oh, you know what? That's the sort of player that we should be going in for. And they were turning and go, you mad? Neymar, you mad? And I said, why should we? We're Arsenal Football Club, we're a big club.
You're
big
touching
club,
on something that
based in London, right? The biggest club in London, massive fan base worldwide. I remember when in the summer, when I was out in Singapore and we played PSG, there must have been about 10 PSG fans in that ground. Everybody else there come to see Arsenal out of that 50,000, right? We're a huge club, right? Why shouldn't we, I'm not saying we buy Neymar, but why shouldn't we be in that conversation?
Of course.
And I think that over the years, he's convinced us
brainwashed us.
Yeah.
Brainwashed us that, you know what, we should. So even Arsenal fans are saying, nah, we will. Neymar.
We can't afford him.
When those big names are coming available, if we are as big as we say we are, yeah, and I'm not saying we're not ridiculous to say Man City money and stuff like that, but I'm sorry. You've seen with Liverpool, they're going and buying 75 million Van Dijk and people like that. When those big conversations are being made, we should be involved.
100%.
We should be one of those clubs that are in that conversation to buy Van Dijk. Not necessarily that we're going to get him.
Yeah.
And like you said, that 40 million plus a pound thing, it's not the. You know what? It's not even so much the pound, because speaking to guys that agents and that, right? A couple of them have said to me that it's not an unusual practice that you just pay just a little bit over, right? And they said that where Liverpool were very smart is that they put that out there to try and embarrass Arsenal.
Yeah.
But then what he should have done is, and this is where I feel he made the mistake, is he should have went back and said, all right, here's 50 million then.
Yep.
Actually wants 6, because Suarez wanted to come.
Yeah, and his release clause
is 60 million. We want Suarez. When were we ever aggressive in the transfer market under Ivan Gazidis? We weren't. So you go in, you know, if that had been United or if that had been Chelsea, they'd have come in and said, all right, 40 million a pound, you're shooting up your mouth. All right, here.
There's 50.
50 here.
That's it.
No, we still don't. All right, you know what, 60, the player starts getting all unsettled.
Yeah.
The fans start thing, the player refuses to train and all that. Next minute, you know, he's in an Arsenal shirt.
And it wouldn't even go that far.
40 million a pound. What are they smoking over there? They did, right? Liverpool came out. We just backed off.
Yeah, yeah.
Like wimps.
Yeah, because we actually broke his release clause. Legally, he was.
Yeah, we hadn't done nothing wrong.
Yeah.
As I said, I've spoken to some agents, and they said, really, that's not really an unusual practice that would be just over.
To do it.
That's what you do. You've broken the release clause.
Yeah.
However, as I said, Liverpool they're a bit smart in coming back in that to try and embarrass, but they should have just come in. That's when now your aggressive guy comes in hard and says, yo,
and that's why I question.
Oh, you think that's all we got?
Yeah.
Here we come, boom.
And that's why I question when people say, oh, he's a good businessman. You know what I mean? Was he?
I think he's a good businessman in doing deals with companies. So if he goes to, I don't know, Rolex or goes to Adidas or whatever.
He's got us Adidas, but then on the other side of that, Robbie, we're losing players for nothing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's,
and then you know what?
Great deal for for Adidas, but then we've lost Ramsey, we're losing Wiltshire, Nasri, all those players. How much money has actually cost us?
I'll tell you who does think he's probably a great businessman is Stan Kroenke.
Oh, definitely.
Because he's like quadrupled the value of the club.
Yeah, from that
with
point
his deals and stuff like that he's done over the years without hardly spending any money, right? And made that guy loads and loads of money. So in that aspect, he's done his job. But as far as a football and fans and concerned,
I'll get that. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And even the Suarez deal, touching back on that, we were meant to be able to talk to him. Liverpool turned around and tweeted, what are they smoking at the Emirates? They said, you can't talk to him. Going back to what you said about, is he really a businessman should know. We've broken his release clause. Liverpool can't say no, even if it's a pound. They can't say,
we backed out though,
we backed out, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The real aggressive, if that had been Real Madrid, they ain't backing down.
Nah,
they're like, all right.
Yeah.
The following season he went to Barcelona anyway, you know what I mean?
And he had some previous because we had the Higuain deal. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
There's that one.
Yeah.
You're bringing back the pain now, man.
Yeah, it's coming back.
That was when Claude did his first rant, wasn't it, over Higuain. I don't know if you remember it. And he went to Napoli. They outbid us, didn't they, Napoli?
Yeah. But again, what you were saying about the whole, the way he's changed fans' perception and brainwashed us in a sense.
Yeah.
He is... Even down to Ramsey, there was a message in my WhatsApp group yesterday. We can pay him the wages he wants. Arsenal can pay him the wages he wants. It's obviously we're not choosing to now, but over the years, over what's happened in the last 10 years, people tend to think Arsenal don't have the money to compete. Arsenal don't have the money to compete the wages, and we
believe it, don't we?
And that's again part of the divide last season and the seasons before over Wenger and Wenger out or in. They were actually fueled by him because he was the man behind like you said, he was the man behind Wenger. So Wenger taking all that fuel, all that energy from us was actually down to the way he handled the business.
Well, listen, I'll tell you something else about Gazidis, you know what I mean? Like, Wenger took a load of stick for the board, a load of criticism. It was all chucked on Wenger, right, while they all just sat there counting their coins. And when it come to it, they threw him under the bus. Couldn't, you know, got rid of him. You know what I mean, for whatever reason, didn't they? And then a year later, he's gone as well. You know, so, you know, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him, really. You know what I mean, if I'll be honest.
Yeah,
you know, I think that...
Will Wenger end up at AC Milan?
Possibly.
Well, if that happened, he seems very he seems very confident he's going somewhere in January, doesn't he?
Thickens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, you know, it could be a little phone call in there, like, you know, let me get my feet under the table, Arsenal, and then you can come out here, like, you know what I mean? And
I just wonder what Unai Emery thinks about it, because obviously he brought Emery in.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen that conversation where he said to him, oh, by the way, when you take over in 3 months' time, I'm buggering off, basically.
But to be honest, I think Robbie was speaking to someone who knows Emery personally and has written a book about him, and he was actually saying to Robbie, and Robbie said to me that Emery's a coach. Emery doesn't worry about the external factors, he worries about the team performances, and if that is the case, then yeah, he won't mind that Gazidis is gone. He's concentrating on his football. Yeah. So I'd assume that it's not going to affect him too much. But again, as fans, we need to come out of that habit of treating our club off
like
the basis.
It's our own money.
No, off the basis of it's the last 10 years. And I say that by, again, what you said. Over the last 10 years, we've become accustomed to saying we won't spend that money. We have to stop saying that. If we want to start spending them, the pressure has to keep on building towards that. Yes, we've had years of up and down atmosphere and arguments with fans. Now we're all united. Now there's not that one man where people are divided opinion upon. Now we all know what we want. We've got a new manager. Now it's time. If we don't succeed, it is money.
But as fans, we've accepted a budget of 50 million this year.
Just because they've tricked us with a new manager and excitement.
For whatever, we're so desperate for change. We're so desperate for it all, you know what I mean? Like, we've all jumped on, oh, Unai Emery's the business, which, you know, we don't know if he is or he's not, but at the moment we're all giving him the benefit of that because we're desperate. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, £50 million comes in for a budget. Is that fair? We touched on it. Is that fair for a new manager? No. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I guarantee, like, the new Real Madrid manager comes in, whoever it's going to be, he's been told that by, you know, he'll be getting 100 million. Mourinho has been told this month, you know what I mean, that he's going to get 100 million in a January transfer window. You know what I mean? We've got this manager who I think's doing really well for us at this moment in time. You know what I mean? On limited resources. Yeah. Arsenal Football Club on limited resources. Thank you very much, Gazidis, for that. Like, you leave us in good place, didn't you?
Do you know what? You just
Block C you get to now.
I just remembering, right, as well, when I spoke to him that time, right, I said to him, Ivan, why have we not bought a defensive midfielder? This was like, it was about 3 years ago. I said, why? Everybody knows, Ivan, we need a defensive midfielder. And I remember him saying something about, well, Robbie, we look at, we have a very extensive network, and what we do is we look at every player, we look at the stats, we look at the this, we look at the that, and some of those players that people have been suggesting are just not right for us. Because I think I was saying to him at the time, like Wanyama, I threw a few names at him, like Wanyama. He's going, yeah, we look at the stats, you know. He goes, you guys don't really understand, but there's a lot of stuff we look at, data, stats. And I was thinking, yeah, but why have we got there must be someone out there, defensive midfielder that is better than Coquelin, better than these guys that we got at the moment, with proper DMs, with presence that we can bring in. We need that.
So then gets Flamini on a free transfer.
Yeah, and all these sort of things. I mean, and
he looks at all the data, and then he goes and gets Flamini on a free transfer.
Well, let's talk about the data.
I'm not having a go at Flamini, but there you go.
It's true. It's a good example.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We go. The most important statistic is that is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 at the end of it.
Yeah.
That's the stat that he was worried about.
Well, obviously,
Block B.
It's getting. Stop him at A now, Lee. Stop him at A.
You know what I mean? So, but it's true, though. You know, like, you know.
You're frustrated. I get it. I'm with you. I'm with you there. I'm just happy that the change has come.
I feel let down by it all. I feel cheated by it all. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, it's if someone keeps promising you something and you know, and you believe in it, and then, but eventually, if they keep promising you it and it's not happening, eventually you're gonna break, aren't you?
Yeah, because you start feeling like a fool for believing it, and you have to release that somehow, and it goes straight back to the person who's lied to you. But you know what? Talking to you guys now, I can generally see there's a pattern to how we feel about the Gazidis era. Stop me if I'm wrong, but we're not going to look back at it in any type of fondness, any type of excitement, any type of...
Whatever give you that idea, like that.
So yeah, thanks guys for coming down, Graham, Robbie and Lee. This is the Supporters Club, my new show on AFTV. Make sure you tune in and leave all your feedback in the comments. And Gazidis, if you're watching, just take a trip around the Emirates on match day.
Hi, how you doing everybody? This is Ian Wright. Don't forget to check out my new YouTube channel. The link is in the description. Check it out, man. It's gonna be.
Yo, what are you doing, man?
I'm sorry, Rob. I had to touch the Holy Grail mic, bro.
No, you can't do that, bro. What are you doing? You can't do
like
that.
a rascal like that, bro.
Don't forget to check out Ian Wright's brand new YouTube channel. The link is in the description. It's going to be brilliant.